Everyone thought we were the perfect family. But that dinner, that one night, tore everything apart. And I made sure the truth didn't just come out, it exploded. Asterisk the clinking of cutlery echoed in the silence like a metronome ticking down to an explosion. The Mahoney family sat around their oversized oak table, a centerpiece that had hosted decades of forced smiles, ignored truths, and sharpened words, disguised as pleasantries. From the outside, they looked like any respectable middle-class American family. The pristine dishes, the laughter that bordered on too loud, the wine glasses filled just enough to seem classy but not indulgent, everything was choreographed to perfection, but I wasn't here to enjoy dinner. I was here to burn the mask they all wore. Pass the potatoes, honey, my mother said, voice sticky sweet like she hadn't spent the last 23 years slowly breaking me down in the name of discipline and tradition. I passed them with a nod, catching her eye for a half second. Too long. She flinched just slightly, not enough for anyone else to notice. But I did. I wanted her to feel it. The shift. The endgame. To my right, my brother Carter poured himself more wine than anyone else and cracked some joke about his new promotion. Dad laughed louder than the joke deserved. Jenna, my perfect little sister in her perfect and tailor blouse, added a perfectly timed, "Wow, Carter, that's amazing," even though she'd once told me behind closed doors that he was an arrogant fraud who barely passed high school. I wondered if any of them could feel it, the crackling tension under my skin. If they could smell the smoke of the truth I was about to let loose. Ella, my father said, spearing a piece of meat with his fork. You've been quiet tonight. Still sulking about not coming to the lake this summer? I smiled. The kind of smile that tightens the corners of your mouth until it hurts. The kind that carries 1,000 buried memories, all screaming to be heard. I wasn't invited, I said simply, my tone flat, measured. Dad laughed. You know you're always welcome. I watched him take a bite and chew with satisfaction. Right. Just like I was welcome last Christmas when you booked the Airbnb without enough beds. Or welcome at Jenna's graduation party when no one told me the time changed. My voice was calm, but my heartbeat was racing like a war drum in my chest. Ella, my mother said sharply, that warning tone she'd perfected. Not at the table. I set down my fork. No, actually, exactly at the table. Carter chuckled. Awkwardly. Jenna picked at her salad. My mother pursed her lips, and Dad looked like someone had turned off his background music. I've spent years staying silent so this family could keep its pretty little illusion, I said, leaning forward. I let you gaslight me. I let you pretend I was the difficult one. The dramatic one. The unstable one. No one spoke, but I'm done pretending. I came here tonight not for dinner. I came to deliver the truth. Their eyes locked onto me. Nervous glances passed between them. They didn't know what was coming, but they knew something had changed. I reached into my bag and pulled out a stack of neatly printed papers. Emails. Screenshots. A flash drive. Receipts, literal and emotional. Every insult, every betrayal. Every passive-aggressive slight I'd buried just to keep the peace. Jenna whispered, "What are you doing?" I looked her in the eye. Ending the performance. And as I laid each piece of evidence on the table like offerings at a sacrificial altar, I realized something that made me smile for real, not the tight, broken smile they were used to. They had no idea just how much I remembered, and they were about to find out. My dad leaned back in his chair like someone had just pulled a gun on him, though the only weapon I held was the truth, and I was fully loaded. You're being dramatic, he said, the first line of defense in his tired arsenal. This isn't the time or the place. Then when is? I asked, my voice calm and razor sharp. Because I've waited. For years. Through every birthday you forgot, every lie you told on my behalf, every time you told people I was going through something, when the only thing I was going through was surviving in this house. My mother reached for her wine glass with trembling fingers. Ella, sweetheart, we all went through tough times. I laughed, an ugly, bitter sound that didn't belong in this kitchen but had grown inside me like mold. You call this tough times? You humiliated me in front of my college friends when you showed up to my apartment and screamed about how I was embarrassing the family by dating someone outside your approved circle. You locked me out when I came home late from work. You told my therapist I was exaggerating. And then you told the neighbors I had mental problems. Jenna looked down at her plate. She didn't even try to deny it. She was good at pretending to be neutral, but she'd taken sides a long time ago. Every time she stayed quiet when Mom cut me down. Every time she let Carter laugh at me. Every time she smiled for family pictures while I was crying behind the bathroom door. I was 16 when you told me I was the mistake child, I said, my voice trembling now but still standing. Do you even remember that, Mom? She looked like she might say yes or no or maybe cry, but instead, she looked away. Like she always did. Like she could just blink away the damage. Carter cleared his throat. Look, we've all had our issues. But you didn't exactly make things easy, Ella. You were intense. Intense, I repeated, nodding slowly. Yeah, that's the word you all landed on, right? Not depressed. Not traumatized. Not isolated. Just intense. Like it was a character flaw, not a reaction to living in a house where I never felt safe. I slid one of the papers toward Carter. An email he wrote to my ex-boyfriend behind my back, telling him I was unstable and manipulative. That he should get out now before she ruins your life. He glanced at it, pale. Where did you? Doesn't matter, I interrupted. You wanted me alone. Easier to mock. Easier to scapegoat. Dad stood up then, pushing back his chair. This is nonsense. If you're trying to embarrass us, embarrass you. I stood up too, voice louder now, years of silence breaking loose. I was never trying to embarrass you. I was trying to survive you. The room fell silent. Heavy. Sticky. No background music. No jokes. Just the sound of truth sitting ugly between us. I got a therapist. I did the work. I replayed every moment from my childhood trying to make sense of it. And you know what I found? I said, looking at all three of them. I wasn't crazy. I was grieving. I was grieving a family that never actually existed. Only a performance you all insisted we keep going. Jenna was crying now, silent tears rolling down her cheeks, but she didn't speak. Maybe she knew she was guilty, too. Maybe she didn't know how to defend herself anymore. I pulled out one last thing. My phone, tonight, I said quietly, this dinner, it's being recorded. Mom gasped. Dad shouted something, but I talked over them, because people need to know what this kind of family looks like behind closed doors. Perfect photos, Sunday church, holiday cards, all fake. All cover for the manipulation, the cruelty, the lies. I locked eyes with my father. I'm done protecting you. The storm had landed, and for the first time in my life, I felt free. Nobody moved. Not for a full 10 seconds. And in a family like mine, silence didn't mean peace, it meant someone was reloading. My father broke it first, slamming his hand against the edge of the table hard enough to rattle the plates. You recorded us, he bellowed, face flushing red. That's illegal. That's betrayal. I didn't flinch. Not anymore. I looked him square in the eyes and said, no, Dad. Betrayal is pretending to love someone while slowly destroying their sense of worth. This is survival. Mom stood up then, her voice shrill. How dare you paint us like monsters? After all we've done for you, you mean like refusing to let me see a therapist until I was 20? I snapped. Or telling me I needed to lose weight when I was 11 because I wouldn't be marriage material otherwise? Or how about when you told my scholarship mentor that I was too emotional to handle real success? She froze. Because she knew. She knew I remembered everything. And she knew I wasn't scared anymore. Carter's face had gone blank, that smug, untouchable mask he wore cracking around the edges. You're overreacting, he said, like that line would save him. You've always been dramatic. Twisting things. I turned to him and smiled, slow and hollow. You used to sneak into my room and read my journals. You took my pain and laughed about it with your friends. You spread it around school like it was a joke. But sure, I'm the dramatic one. He looked away. Jenna finally spoke, her voice quiet and broken. I didn't know it was that bad. I shook my head. You knew. You just didn't want to be next. The truth hung in the air like smoke. And suddenly, their perfect dinner, the centerpiece candles, the roast, the polished silver, all of it looked ridiculous. Like a desperate performance falling apart mid-scene. You built this image, I said, my voice lower now, more tired than angry. You convinced everyone, friends, neighbors, even me, that we were a model family. Loving. Close. Normal. But I see now. We were just a brand you curated. And I was bad for business. Mom stepped closer, but I held up a hand. No. You don't get to comfort me. Not after what you've done. You were supposed to protect me. Instead, you used my pain to make yourself look better. You turned me into a story, poor Ella, always so sensitive. But I wasn't broken. I was drowning. Dad shook his head, sitting down hard. For the first time, he looked smaller. Older. Beaten. You think this will fix anything? He muttered. Destroying your family in public? I leaned forward. This isn't destruction. It's exposure. And maybe if even one other person sees our story and realizes they're not crazy, that they're not alone, maybe then it's worth it. There were tears in my eyes now, but I let them fall. No shame anymore. No hiding. I'm not doing this because I hate you. I'm doing this because I love myself enough to stop living like I owe you silence. I looked at each of them. Jenna, Carter, Mom, Dad, and said, softly, this is the last time I come home. And I walked out. No slamming doors. No screaming. Just me, stepping out of their manufactured world into the truth. It was messy. It was painful, but it was real. The video went live on a Tuesday evening. I hadn't planned it that way, but something about the stillness of midweek made it feel like the right time. The quiet before the storm. I uploaded the video with no dramatic music, no editing, no flashy titles, just my voice, telling the truth. I blurred my siblings' faces, but left my own visible. I wanted people to know that I wasn't hiding anymore. Within hours, it caught fire. At first, it was slow. A few shares, some supportive comments, strangers saying they'd felt the same growing up. But by morning, my inbox was flooded. Emails. Messages. Hundreds of people, many from my town, thanking me, confessing their own stories, or just saying they believed me. A few doubted, of course. Accused me of exaggerating or airing family drama for attention. But they were drowned out by a wave of voices who recognized the pattern, the language, the subtle, quiet violence of families like mine. The story had broken free, and then came the local media. They reached out one by one, cautiously at first. But after one journalist, a woman named Renee who had grown up with her own complicated family, wrote a piece titled, Behind the Perfect Smile, Ella's Truth, everything exploded. It made the front page of 2 regional papers. Talk shows picked it up. The hashtag not your perfect family trended for 3 days. I kept quiet through it all. I didn't do interviews. I didn't try to go viral. I just let the video speak for itself. Because it wasn't about revenge anymore. Not really. It was about validation. And every person who sent me a message saying, I thought I was the only one, reminded me why I had done it, but my family, they didn't take it well. My parents tried to issue a statement. Something about deep regret and family matters being private. But no one bought it. People knew. You can't fake sincerity after decades of manipulation. Carter deactivated all his social media within a day. Jenna sent me a single message, I'm sorry. I didn't know how to help you back then. But I'm trying now. I didn't respond. Not yet. The church quietly removed my father from his leadership position. One of their PR members even reached out to me, not with an apology, but with a warning to consider the damage being done. I didn't reply. Their silence for years had already said everything. Then came the letters, handwritten ones, mostly. From young girls, grown women, even a few men, people who had grown up in families where love came with strings, where smiles were currency and emotional abuse was hidden under politeness and prayer. They told me their stories. Some wrote in pain. Some in rage. Some just needed to say it out loud for the first time. I started saving them all in a folder, and then I realized this couldn't stop with just me. I had broken the silence. But there were so many still trapped in it. So I filed the paperwork and founded the Unseen Project, a non-profit for survivors of hidden family abuse. We offered therapy scholarships, community groups, and legal resources. It started small. Just me and a few volunteers who believed in the mission. But it grew faster than I expected. Within 6 months, we were helping dozens. Then hundreds. People said I was brave. Some even said I was a hero, but I didn't feel like one. I felt like someone who had finally found oxygen after years of breathing underwater, and for the first time in my life, I felt free, not fixed. Not whole. But finally living a life that belonged to me.